Happy Halloween, everybody! And it's the only video where it's gonna be called a Shadow Lion production. But this Halloween, because I don't feel like being super serious, I figure we're just gonna amp up the cheese factor. So, what's cheesy but also kind of kooky? And it's not the Addams Family. Roll the intro, and also roll in the title credits for the show. That is right, kiddies. Today we are going back in time once again. First, we're going into a show that was set in the 70s, set in the 80s. Now we're going back to a show that was filmed and released during the 60s.
And like that, you've lost me.
Kind of feel like a lot of the Nomadic reviews on this show are going to be a lot of oldies, or set in the oldies. I kind of like how this started out, but for this Halloween, we're talking about the Munsters, one of the most underrated gothic comedy shows that I could probably think of outside of the Addams Family. Released for only 2 seasons for about a year, and then having some spin-off movies, it follows the adventures of Frankenstein monster of Herman Munster, his wife Lily Munster, who is a vampiress, his grandfather and his father-in-law, and his son's grandfather of the Count, aka Count Dracula, his son Eddie Munster, and the only human in the house of his niece Marilyn. Where, throughout the entirety of the only 2 seasons released, it's all about them just having a normal uprising with the most kooky of things, such as a rainy day being a beautiful day, them having a normal-esque sort of dinosaur dragon pet known as Spot living underneath their staircase, and the fact that their little kitten sounds like a tiger growling. You know, normal stuff. So, the whole adventures of the entire series just goes around the father of the whole family of Herman Munster getting into some kind of wacky shenanigans. Sometimes through his son Eddie, sometimes just through himself just bumbling around for a hobby, or sometimes inadvertently because of his father-in-law, where they will butt heads like any in-laws do because, you know, normal family stuff. And from there, it's usually just Herman has to solve the problem that he himself incidentally may or may not have caused, although in season 2 majority of the problems he has caused, where now he has to make things right, otherwise his family ends up going into the whole having to move and no longer be the normal family on the street at 1313 Mockingbird Lane.
Darn, 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 darn!
Which you guys may have heard the address Mockingbird Lane in the Addams Family movies. So, before we get into the show itself in more detail, allow me to first clarify the ongoing feud between certain fans. And by certain, I mean a lot of fans of these 2 shows. A lot of people are desperate to see the Addams Family and the Munsters go head to head because of how similar that they are. A creepy and kooky family doing normal-esque sort of activities, but with a dark, sinister twist in a gothic manner that is completely harmless. And a lot of people feel like they should duke heads in a death battle sort of situation, where, you know, Herman Munster versus Gomez Addams, Morticia Addams versus Lily Munster. I mean, for me, I'd be satisfied with Lily, and I'm not gonna go into my whole weird thing with you guys about my attraction towards Morticia Addams or Lily Munster, which is... So, from that on, from movies and other interpretations, a lot of people were still kind of on the fence of which show to root for, the Addams or the Munsters, because the Munsters didn't have a newspaper adaptation. It was an original story brought about by the actors that played The Count and by Herman Munster, where they were pretty much the producers that went to the director. The story is then settled from there or certain other accounts, however you want to find the whole instrumental factors of the matter. And then for the Addams, it began from a news strip that became a TV show, that became an animated series, and certain TV adaptations and movies. So now you're kind of just like, which one do you root for? Which goes on for an ongoing feud between Addams Family fans and Munster fans. And me in the middle being one that likes both. Because to be honest, they belong together in like a crossover of the Addams Family meets the Munsters. I digress. The following thing about the show was the first season was good enough for it to get a second one, but here is the kicker, like what a lot of shows in the 60s had, where even if it was good for a certain market, which would happen a lot throughout the decades to follow, the Munsters couldn't have the staying power because they only served a certain demographic, rather than how other shows in the 60s and 70s were getting on, like Chips, The Love Boat, Emergency, all of those good old shows that everyone seems to remember, and McHale's Navy, or That Girl, or anything you would remember about the 60s or 70s. You know, stuff that a lot of people wouldn't remember for a cult following like you would the Munsters or the Addams Family. Just saying. And because of those low rating sort of stuff, it ended after its second season, ending the same way it ended its first season of teacher or adult figure talking to a child about how weird it is that they're talking about the Munster house. They see what the house is, they get scared because they see the father, they see the mother, the grandfather, all the events inside the house like Spot or the cat, or seeing all the dust and cobwebs and how they interact inside their house. They end up scarred for life, drop the subject, and then la-di-da, show is over.
Disappointed!
Not really a good way to end the show, where it's like you could have done a few more stuff like seeing Eddie Munster grow up to become something like an actual werewolf vampire homunculus child, doing some more stuff that would seem abnormal to others but normal to his family. You could have had Marilyn the niece getting married. You could have done a lot of stuff. The movies, I think, tried to do a lot more, but I'm not touching the movies because I never watched them growing up. I'm more focused on the show, where you could have done a few more plot threads to end on the series in one more season, but ratings, man. What can you fucking do back in the 60s besides do a lot of cocaine and a lot of marijuana? But I'm not touching on that factor. My point is, at the end of the day, when it comes to stuff like the Munsters, or anything like Dark Shadows, or the Addams Family, anything involving a gothic edge to it, I'm honestly one person to say I enjoy a lot of things of that darker nature, and I wish it got a better treatment than what it has gotten, where it could have expanded more into a better cult status. It's why I'm a big Twin Peaks tuber, where I'm always excited to hear the news of the revival season coming out for next year, and why I'm always looking towards other Twin Peaks content creators that want to talk about the show in grander details. It's why I'm such a huge person that wants to hear more people talk about the underground belly of the underworld of gothic grandeur. It's why I'm someone that really craves that whole darker nature of comedy, of entertainment, because it appeals to my whole inner artist nature about what I love and see, pushing the boundaries of what can be acceptable by society. It's not because it's reprehensible or it's twisted, it's because it's an expression about what you want to do. You don't have to be someone that does something grossed out or something that makes no apparent sense. You could do something where it's someone sees something that's normal to others, but weird to a giant section of society, and it would still be a good enough show. And that's something I enjoyed most about the Munsters. That and I marathon the entire first and second season about 5 times because I cannot get enough of seeing Lily Munster. Well, this is getting awkward. And what is going on? Well, I got a text from Jackson. Apparently someone broke something at 1313 Mockingbird Lane. So, happy Halloween, guys. I gotta do some repair work. So, be cool, stay stylish, and have a safe one. And don't bag jack kids. Don't. It's terrible.
A distant place where every day is paradise. Money like the average hoe, never tight. Passing bread like Ramadan. No police, no batons, only cuffs is on the nightstand. Paradise, maybe one day I'll go to visit. Listening to crowds cheer, but didn't hear the drink clink. Heart sank, he saw 1,000 hands touch the skyline. On top of that, all he hear is them screaming his rhymes. Someone told the doubt.